You walk every single day, you hit your steps, you feel like you're doing the right thing, but your legs are still getting weaker. Here's what no one tells you. Walking is not a leg strengthening exercise. It never was. And if you're over 60 and relying on it to keep your legs strong, you're missing the one move that actually rebuilds them. This video is about one exercise, just one. It requires no gym, no equipment, and no special training. But it does something that 10,000 steps a day simply cannot do. And surgeons, actual orthopedic surgeons, prescribe it to patients recovering from knee and hip surgery because it works that well. Most people over 60 think more walking equals stronger legs. That's the conventional wisdom. Walk more, stay strong. But that's not what the science says. Walking maintains what you already have. This one exercise rebuilds what you've lost. That's a completely different thing. And that difference is everything when it comes to staying independent, staying on your feet, and staying out of a wheelchair. I've broken this down into the key reasons why this exercise does what walking can't, starting with the ones that surprised me most. By the end, you'll understand exactly why your legs have been getting weaker despite all your walking, and what to do about it starting today. Let's get into it. The exercise is the sit to stand. You already know what it is. You do it every single day without thinking about it. You stand up from a chair, you sit back down. That's it. But here's what you don't know. When you do it intentionally, with the right technique, the right tempo, and the right frequency, it becomes one of the most powerful leg rebuilding tools in existence. The difference between doing it accidentally and doing it as an exercise is the difference between surviving and thriving. So let's talk about why it works, and why walking, as great as it is, just doesn't get the job done. The first thing you need to understand is what walking actually trains. Walking is an endurance activity. It uses your slow-twitch muscle fibers, the ones built for long, steady, low-intensity effort. Those fibers are important. They keep your cardiovascular system healthy, they help you cover distance, and they burn calories. Walking is genuinely good for you. Nobody is saying stop walking, but here's the problem. The muscles that age the fastest, your quadriceps at the front of your thighs, your glutes, your hamstrings, those are power muscles. They're built for force. They're built for speed. They're built to get you up off the floor, up off the toilet, out of a low car seat. And they are dominated by fast-twitch muscle fibers. Fast-twitch fibers are the first to go as you age. They shrink, they go dormant, and walking barely touches them. Walking doesn't ask your body to produce force quickly. It doesn't challenge those muscles hard enough to make them grow. So they keep shrinking, even while you're out there getting your 10,000 steps. The sit-to-stand is different. When you stand up quickly from a chair, you are recruiting those fast-twitch fibers. You are training power, the ability to produce force fast. That's what catches you when you stumble. That's what gets you up off a low seat without grabbing the armrests. That's what keeps you independent. And here's the part that surprises most people. It's not just the standing up that matters. It's the sitting back down. When you lower yourself slowly and controlled back into the chair, you're training something called eccentric strength. Eccentric means your muscles are lengthening under load. They're working hard while getting longer, not shorter. This is the kind of strength you need for going downstairs, for sitting down without plopping, for controlling your body against gravity. Walking doesn't train eccentric strength. Almost none. When you walk, your muscles mostly push you forward. There's no real controlled lowering phase. So that whole dimension of strength, the one that protects your knees, stabilizes your joints, and keeps you from collapsing into chairs, goes completely untrained. Think about it this way. If walking built all the strength you needed, elderly people who walk every day would never struggle to get up from a chair. But they do, because walking and getting up from a chair strength are two completely different things. That's important. But if you don't understand what's happening inside your muscles as you age, the rest of this won't fully land. So let me give you the quick version. As you get older, something shifts in your muscle stem cells. They move into what scientists call a survival mode. Instead of focusing on repair and rebuilding, they slow down. They become conservative. They're waiting for a strong enough signal to wake back up. Walking doesn't give them that signal. It's not intense enough. It doesn't create enough mechanical stress to say, hey, we need to rebuild here. But sit to stand does, especially when you do it with intention, when you stand up fast and sit down slow. That combination of power and control creates the kind of stimulus that wakes those muscle stem cells back up. It tells your body, this person still needs strong legs. Build them. Studies have shown that just 8 weeks of sit-to-stand training improves muscle strength, power, and functional capacity in older adults. 8 weeks. That's not a long time. And walking for 8 weeks doesn't show the same strength gains. Not even close. Now here's something even more interesting. And this one genuinely surprised me when I first came across it. Your brain is part of the problem. As we age, the brain gets less efficient at calling your muscles into action. There are things called motor units, basically the connection points between your nervous system and your muscle fibers. When you want to move, your brain sends a signal down through these motor units to fire up the muscle. But with age, some of those motor units go quiet. They don't get used. The brain stops calling on them. The result? You have muscle that isn't being used. Not because it's completely gone, but because the brain-to-muscle connection has gone weak. It's like having workers sitting in a break room that nobody's calling back to the floor. Walking doesn't fix this. It uses the same motor units it always has. It's automatic. Your brain runs walking on autopilot. There's no new challenge, no new recruitment, no reason to fire up the dormant units. Sit-to-stand challenges your nervous system. It requires coordination. It requires balance. It requires your brain to recruit more motor units than it normally would. And every time you do it, you're strengthening that brain-to-muscle connection. You're calling those workers back to the floor. This is why people who start doing sit-to-stand as a deliberate exercise often say they feel stronger almost immediately, before significant muscle growth has even occurred. Because the first thing that improves is the neural connection. The brain gets better at using the muscle it already has. That's a huge deal, and it's something walking will never give you. But here's where it gets really practical. Because I know what some of you are thinking. This sounds great, but I can barely do a sit-to-stand right now. My knees hurt. I need to hold on to the armrests. How is this going to work for me? That's exactly the right question. And the answer is one of the best things about this exercise. Sit-to-stand is completely scalable. If you're just starting out or recovering from surgery, or your legs are genuinely weak right now, you use a higher chair, you use armrests, you use whatever support you need. You're still training the movement. You're still waking up the muscles. You're still building that neural connection. As you get stronger, you lower the chair. You stop using the armrests. You add a pause at the bottom, sitting back slightly without fully resting your weight, then standing back up. That pause is brutal in the best way. It removes the elastic rebound that most people use to cheat their way up, and it forces your muscles to do all the work from a dead stop. And when you're ready for the next level, you try single leg variations. One leg does most of the work. This reveals imbalances between your left and right side that you probably didn't know existed. And it trains single leg stability, which walking on flat ground never challenges. This scalability is why surgeons prescribe it after knee and hip replacement surgery. It's safe, it's controlled, it directly transfers to real-life movement. And it can be adjusted for exactly where you are right now, whether that's barely getting out of a chair or doing 20 reps with no hands. That's important. But if you don't understand how to actually do this correctly, you could be leaving most of the benefit on the table. So let me walk you through the technique. Here's how to do this sit-to-stand exercise properly. Sit toward the front edge of your chair, not all the way back. You want your hips roughly at the same height as your knees, or slightly above. Feet flat on the floor, about shoulder width apart, toes pointed slightly outward. Now lean forward slightly from the hips, not from the waist, from the hips. Think about bringing your nose over your toes. This shifts your weight forward and gets your center of gravity in the right place. It also protects your knees by keeping the load in the right position. Then stand up. Drive through your heels and the middle of your foot. Push the floor away. Don't let your knees cave inward. Keep them tracking over your toes. Stand tall at the top. Squeeze your glutes for a second. Now here's the part most people skip. Sit back down slowly. Take 2 to 3 seconds to lower yourself. Control the descent. Don't plop. Don't let gravity do the work. You do the work. This is where the eccentric strength training happens. This is where a huge portion of the benefit lives. That's 1 rep. Start with 5 reps. 3 times per day. Before breakfast, before lunch, before dinner. That's 15 reps total. It takes about 2 minutes. You don't need a gym. You don't need shoes. You just need a chair. This concept, doing small amounts of exercise spread throughout the day, is called exercise snacking, and research shows it's remarkably effective, especially for older adults. Instead of one long session that feels like a chore, You're doing short bursts that fit naturally into your day. And because sit-to-stand is so low risk, you can do it multiple times daily without worrying about overtraining or injury. Over time, you add reps. You slow down the lowering phase, you try a lower chair, you try a pause at the bottom. You progress at your own pace. The goal isn't to become an athlete. The goal is to rebuild the leg strength you need to stay independent, to get up from any chair without help, to climb stairs without holding the railing, to get out of a car without struggling, to stay on your feet when you stumble. That's what this exercise gives you. Now let me give you one more piece of this that most videos completely ignore, and it's the one that I think matters most for long-term health over 60. Bone density. Most people think walking is a weight-bearing exercise that protects bone density, and it is weight-bearing, that's true, but it doesn't load the bones with enough force to significantly stimulate new bone growth. Sit-to-stand is different. When you drive up from a chair with force, you're creating compressive load through your femur, your hip joint, your spine. That load signals your bone-forming cells, called osteoblasts, to lay down new bone tissue. This is how you fight osteoporosis. Not by walking gently on flat ground, but by loading the skeleton with meaningful force. For women over 60 especially, this is critical. Bone density loss accelerates after menopause, and the consequences of a hip fracture are severe. Sit-to-stand won't replace everything. You should still talk to your doctor about a comprehensive bone health strategy. But as a daily habit, it does more for your bone density than your daily walk. And while we're talking about what this exercise does for your whole body, let's not forget balance. When you stand up from a chair, especially without using your hands, you are challenging your balance. Your body has to stabilize itself as your center of gravity shifts upward. Your core activates. Your ankles and hips make constant small adjustments. Your vestibular system, the balance system in your inner ear, gets a workout. Walking on flat ground is mostly automatic. Your body has done it millions of times. It doesn't challenge your balance system much at all, but sit-to-stand does. Every single rep, and balance is one of the most critical things to train over 60 because falls are one of the leading causes of serious injury and loss of independence in older adults. The numbers are sobering. 1 in 4 adults over 65 falls each year, and a significant fall can start a chain of events. Broken hip, surgery, hospitalization, reduced mobility, loss of independence. That is very hard to recover from. Sit-to-stand trains the exact muscles and the exact balance systems that prevent falls. It's not just an exercise. For many people, it's a life-preserving habit. I want to pause here and ask you something. If you've made it this far in the video, you're clearly someone who takes their health seriously. That matters. Because the people who watch all the way through are the ones who actually make changes. So I'd love to know, are you currently doing any kind of strength training for your legs, or have you been relying mostly on walking? Drop your answer in the comments. I read every single one, and your answer genuinely helps me make better videos for you. And if this is clicking for you, if you're starting to see why sit-to-stand is different from what you've been doing, make sure you hit subscribe. Because I make videos specifically for people over 60 who want to stay strong, stay independent, and stay out of the doctor's office. Not by working harder, but by working smarter. Now let me bring this all together for you because I want to make sure none of this gets lost. Walking is good. Keep walking. It's good for your heart, your circulation, your mood, your metabolism. Nobody is telling you to stop, but walking maintains your legs. Sit-to-stand rebuilds them. Walking uses slow twitch endurance fibers. Sit-to-stand fires up the fast twitch power fibers that age the fastest and matter the most. Walking doesn't train eccentric strength. Sit-to-stand does. Every single time you lower yourself slowly back into the chair. Walking runs on autopilot. Sit-to-stand challenges your nervous system, wakes up dormant motor units, and strengthens the brain-to-muscle connection. Walking doesn't give your muscle stem cells a strong enough signal to rebuild. Sit-to-stand does. Walking doesn't significantly improve bone density. Sit-to-stand loads the skeleton with the kind of force that tells your bones to get stronger. Walking doesn't train balance. Sit-to-stand does. Every rep, every day. And walking can't be done 15 times a day in 2-minute chunks without wearing you out. Sit-to-stand can. This is why surgeons prescribe it after joint replacement surgery. This is why physical therapists use it as a primary assessment tool for fall risk. This is why researchers have found that 8 weeks of sit-to-stand training improves strength, power, and functional capacity in ways that walking simply doesn't match. You came into this video knowing that walking was good for you. That's still true. But now you know something most people don't. Walking is not enough. And the thing that fills the gap, the thing that rebuilds the strength you've been losing, the power you need to stay independent, the balance that keeps you safe, is sitting in your kitchen right now. It's your chair. 5 reps before breakfast, 5 before lunch, 5 before dinner. Stand up fast. Sit down slow. No equipment. No gym. No excuses. That's it. That's the exercise that does what daily walking can't. Your legs carry you through life. Start rebuilding them today.